So we have some new information when it comes to the future of Alex Shelley with Impact Wrestling, his current contractual situation, why he missed Hard to Kill, and if there's a timeline on if or when he'll return to Impact Wrestling. Now, Alex Shelley, one half of the Motor City Machine Guns, one half of the multiple-time Impact Tag Team Champions, former Impact Tag Team Champions with Chris Sabin, he took to Twitter yesterday and revealed that his day job as a physical therapy clinician kept him from working at the recent Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view and upcoming TV tapings. Now, of course, Alex Shelley was scheduled to team with Chris Sabin and Impact World Champion Rich Swann in the Hard to Kill six-man main event against the team that ended up winning, of course, the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega and the Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. Now, Impact announced the day before Hard to Kill that the current TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose would be replacing Alex Shelley in the match, noting that Shelley informed them late in the night before the day of Hard to Kill that he was unable to travel to Nashville for the pay-per-view due to unavoidable circumstances. Now, Alex Shelley revealed yesterday that currently he's unable to travel and wrestle until he receives the COVID-19 vaccine, and this is related to why he missed Hard to Kill a couple of weeks ago. He said, quote, most days out of the week I look like this. He tweeted out a picture of him at his day job. He said, I look like this. I read theories about why I wasn't at Impact Wrestling for Hard to Kill. They range from injury to illness to getting arrested to harming my family members and attempting to cover it up. I'm a physical therapy clinician, and he attached a work photo of his work attire. He said, quote, physio is my livelihood and career. Wrestling is my livelihood and passion project. At my company, due to the volume of sick and injured patients we are in care of, we modify our COVID-19 mandates as needed. As the numbers went up, so did restrictiveness. To circumvent the topic, I could not be at Hard to Kill due to my career. I respect the decisions made by our company surgeons and doctors. I look to them for advice and guidance. I'm unable to travel and wrestle until I am vaccinated. I took every caution I could before, ... and he continued and admitted that he didn't want to receive the coronavirus vaccine so soon, but if he does want to wrestle and he wants to keep helping people in therapy, he really has no choice. He also pointed out how Impact officials were very, very supportive and understanding, especially to someone who is not currently under contract with the promotion right now. As I mentioned, that's an update when it comes to Alex Shelley's contractual status. He doesn't have a contract right now with Impact Wrestling, one of many that is under that same agreement, and he said he doesn't want to be under contract either. So carrying on from that, he said, I took every caution I could before, but I don't feel right maintaining this duality unless I take in case I take every possible safety measure. When the vaccine became available, that required extra scrutiny or security on my end and my company's end for our patients. I honestly don't want to get the vaccine so soon, but I want to wrestle very badly while I help people in therapy. So there's no option. Impact Wrestling was supportive and understanding, and as someone who doesn't have or nor want a contract at this point, my hands were tied. Thanks everyone for your support. Now, at the moment, as of right now, there's no word yet on when Alex Shelley is going to be back in action, when he's going to be back on Impact Wrestling television. Impact, for the time being, they taped a few more months of TV coming out of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view earlier this month, a couple of weeks ago. And of course, because Alex Shelley can't travel or wrestle right now, he didn't work those TV tapings. So instead, they had to kind of pull an audible, as it were, and Chris Sabin has been teaming with a returning James Storm instead. Now, as of right now, again, we don't know if and when Alex Shelley is going to return. The next Impact pay-per-view is Rebellion 2021. That's scheduled for April 24 in Nashville at Skyway Studios. And if 2020's taught us anything when it comes to the current climate, the world right now, the pandemic, you name it, it's that anything can and will change at a moment's notice. And certainly anything can and will change between now and April, or nothing will change. That's the whole thing right now, is we're living in pretty unprecedented times and uncertain times. So that's the situation when it comes to Alex Shelley, really. Personally, that's what I always felt it was. Now, I mentioned a couple of times before, Alex Shelley was going to actually participate in the Ring of Honor Pure Championship tournament last year, and he couldn't participate. Why? Because he's a frontline worker. That prevented him from attending those TV tapings. His availability is sort of scattered because of his day job as a clinician. And that was the situation there, and I felt that it was probably going to be the case there, or that he tested positive for COVID-19. He came out the day of Hard to Kill, posted the video. The image you can see there is from that video where he said, look, I'm not physically injured. I don't have COVID-19. I didn't test positive. There's nothing like that. I just couldn't travel for unavoidable circumstances. And in fairness to him and in fairness to Impact, they weren't lying. Those circumstances are pretty unavoidable. That's his job. His day job is a physical therapy clinician. And at the moment, the place of practice that he works in, they change the rules and restrictions when it comes to travel and situation when it comes to how they interact with their patients, and that is completely normal. That is completely normal. Again, if 2020 and the last 12 months have taught us anything with this current pandemic, is that the goalposts do move all the time, because as we learn more, or we think we learn more about what's going on in the world, different precautions, different restrictions have to be put in place. There was a period of time around March of last year when this was first happening where people were even saying you didn't have to wear masks. Now that is ludicrous. That is ludicrous, and to be fair, at the time it was ludicrous, but now people have started to soften on that kind of thing, and it's well known that wearing a mask prevents transmission of this disease, and you should be doing it. And it's the same with social distancing, it's the same with hand sanitizing, it's the same with everything. And I think when it comes to the whole vaccine situation right now, it's, as it's been described on the news and described around the world, is that there is a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but we're way from it at this point, and it's still an ongoing issue. And if Alex Shelley, look, as he mentioned, he's a clinician, he's a frontline worker, and pro wrestling is his passion project. It's not his full-time job anymore. His full-time job is helping people, especially during this very difficult period. And to be honest, massive respect to Alex Shelley for helping people. I think everyone who's a frontline worker, anyone that's involved in health or doctor surgeries, nurses, again, frontline workers in general, they deserve a huge amount of respect, a huge amount of applause, a huge amount of money, frankly. They all deserve a raise for what they've had to put up with and been through during this whole ordeal over the past 12 months. People that work in ICUs, I mean, frankly, I could never do what they do. They are the real-life superheroes. They just are. And you look at it a lot of ways, you know, it's disappointing that he almost had to come out and feel the need to explain himself. This has been a bit of a recurring issue, frankly, in not just pro wrestling social media, but it's sort of reared its ugly head when it comes to pro wrestling social media recently, is that everyone feels they deserve an explanation for something. And sometimes when it comes to private matters, we don't. It's there by its very nature. It's private. Now, in this time, again, Alex Shelley felt that he had to release this full statement yesterday explaining himself. He doesn't need to explain himself. Were people disappointed that Alex Shelley couldn't participate in the main event at Hard to Kill? Of course we were. I was. I mentioned it in the videos. I was disappointed. I felt that it would have been a better match with Alex Shelley in it. But if the place that he works says, look, you can't travel unless you're vaccinated, and unless you get a vaccine, we need you to stay where you are. We don't want you interacting with other people. We don't want you leaving the state, or we don't want you traveling and interacting with other people that haven't been vaccinated, whatever, then his hands are really tied, and it is unavoidable circumstances, and it is a shame. I think the resurgence that the Motor City Machine Guns have had over the course of since they've been back in Impact Wrestling since July, when they returned at Slammiversary in July, it's been spectacular. It's been great to see. Even today, all of these years removed after their earlier times in Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, New Japan, wherever, they're still one of the best tag teams in the world. And it was going to be really exciting to see them in the same ring with the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. And it was really exciting because we were fantasy booking. I know I was in my head of thinking, man, what if the Young Bucks come over? It looks like on Dynamite that, I guess not right now, but kind of, that the Young Bucks are aligned with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Potentially we could see that Young Bucks, Generation Me versus Motor City Machine Guns rematch of those great matches that they had in TNA back in 2010, 2011. We could see all of that again, and that could be really, really exciting. As of right now, that isn't the case. That isn't the case because Alex Shelley has more pressing priorities. And look, I know as a pro wrestling fan, and if you're watching this, you're a pro wrestling fan and you're a fan of Impact Wrestling, it's disappointing because you want to see the best athletes, you want to see the best wrestlers, and you want to see the best matches and best product possible. But ultimately, sometimes life gets in the way, and life's been getting in the way a lot over the course of the last 12 months, and we're all still adjusting to what this new version of life is right now, and even as we come out of it, what that new version of normal is. And as I mentioned earlier on, that does mean that the goalposts shift occasionally. That does mean that things change and things are unpredictable. And as the card says, it's subject to change. And I think Impact might have been potentially aware of this during the period of time, because that's why they didn't book Moose for the show. I think potentially that might have been the situation there. If they were very confident that Alex Shelley was going to be competing during the show, I think that they would have probably booked Moose and Willie Mack for something else. The fact that they said, at the time, let's move Moose and Willie Mack to Genesis. Of course, it's an I Quit match. It's suitable to main event Genesis, but let's leave Moose off of the card because something might come up with Alex Shelley. And look, he's mentioned there, he doesn't want to work with a contract either at the moment. He's one of several people. He's not the only person that doesn't have a contract with Impact Wrestling right now. Alex Shelley falls into the same lines as Matt Cardona, James Storm. A lot of people, when they come into Impact, don't have contracts, and Alex Shelley's no different. But I think you have to credit Impact for the way that they're allowing people to come in without a contract. A lot of companies wouldn't do that. They would feel it's a risk because they could leave at any period of time. But they respect talent. Obviously, Alex Shelley and Impact Wrestling have a good communication right now as well. And again, I think, frankly, you look at the situation right now that the world is in right now, you can cut Alex Shelley some slack. And look, as I said before, it's frustrating as a fan because you want to have Alex Shelley there. But to me, when I was reading that, first of all, you'd say, look, I massively applaud Alex Shelley for what he's doing in his day job. It's great that he can entertain us as pro wrestling fans, but I think right now it's way more important to be a frontline worker and helping people. It's always more important to be helping people. So I credit him for that. I credit him for being able to juggle those two roles, especially during this period of time. Not only is he helping people physically, but he's helping people by entertaining them at home. That's mental health right there. So you have to credit him on two levels. And the fact that he felt the need to have to come out and explain himself just shows sometimes what the toxic nature of social media can be. That we deserve an explanation. No, we don't. We don't deserve an explanation. So I hope, obviously, that we see Alex Shelley back in an Impact Wrestling ring and on Impact Wrestling programming soon. And whenever he does come back, and I think he will come back, I don't think he'll want to be a case of he never comes back. Ultimately, the positive thing is with this pandemic and with this way of life that we're living right now is eventually we will get through it. How long it will take to get through it, how long it will take to get to that light at the end of the tunnel, I don't know. But we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. And I think that's the bright light when it comes to all of this. We will get there eventually. And once we get there, and once Alex Shelley does get the vaccine, and once a lot of people get the vaccine, and once we can start getting to a new version of normal, or a new version where we can, go outside and enjoy ourselves and see our friends and our family once again, it's going to be a fantastic day. But right now, obviously, he has more pressing and more important responsibilities. So I just hope that we see Alex Shelley back in an Impact Wrestling ring soon, because that would mean that this whole situation when it comes to the pandemic is starting to sort itself out slightly a little bit. So that's the hope. That's always the hope. But credit to Alex Shelley for what he's doing right now. And as I mentioned, just a fantastic worker, and it looks to be a fantastic human being. And also credit also to Impact Wrestling. As I mentioned before, I think that, and as Alex Shelley mentioned, I think that they've handled it as best as they could. And the fact that they are willing to let Alex Shelley work without a contract, the fact that they're allowing him to do this and manage it with his day job, I think is commendable to say the least. So that's the situation when it comes to Alex Shelley. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Alex Shelley revealing why he was absent from the Hard to Kill Impact Wrestling pay-per-view and TV tapings after Hard to Kill? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, WWE, AEW, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.